Good afternoon. Not quite indoors, actually, Jim. I'm sat poolside on the veranda underneath a sunshade to keep the sun out of my eyes. But yeah, wonderful over here. But hotting up here and hotting up in the transfer window as well.
One of our producers, I should give you a bit of insight on Crooksy. He's been on the champagne. One of our producers, Declan McCarthy, got engaged yesterday a couple of days ago in Portugal, and he's out there with him on the champagne.
Oh, I see. So is Declan in a sorry state or a happy state or in some kind of state?
We'll go with some kind of state. No, he actually flew home yesterday and bumped into Stuart, I believe, at the airport. So no, he's all good. It's been a great trip. But as we say, that the transfer window really starting to ramp up. I think it's going to be a big week for Arsenal, Jim, because you've got Kai Havertz. That's pretty much a done deal. £65 million. They seem to be accelerating with Yuri and Timber, the right-sided defender from Ajax. I think that one will probably happen as well for a fee in the region of £40 million. And they're still the front runners, as I understand it, for Declan Rice. We know there's interest from Manchester City, still no formal bid from City. And the reason for that, I believe, is that they've been told, Manchester City, that Declan Rice has his heart set on a move to Arsenal.
Ah, right, okay. Interestingly, our own Danny Murphy, had his own view on the Declan Rice situation. The longer it goes on, you might want to listen to this.
Has he got the courage to kick up, to get out? You have to be Craig Bellamy, Joey Barton. Yeah, you have to look after yourself. I only had it once in my career, and you have to be able to follow through. It means that you make it perfectly clear that if you keep me here, I won't be playing. And even though you don't really believe it long term, you have to do it.
I'm not really sure where Danny's coming from in that one, because I don't think there's any need for any kind of conflict of any description, Alex.
I think if you look from the outside looking in, it's very difficult, I think, for any player to pass up the opportunity to go and play for Pep Guardiola, to go and join the champions, the treble winners. There's a space now because, of course, Ilkay Gundogan, as we told you on talkSPORT a couple of weeks ago, has now completed his move to Barcelona. But I think he spent a long time, and maybe Stuart has a view on this, Declan Rice, getting into the mindset that he is going to play for Arsenal. He's going to play for Mikel Arteta. He's got a lot of respect for Arteta and the football that Arsenal play. He knows he's going to have a guaranteed role in the starting 11. Maybe, Stuart, he looks at Calvin Phillips, for example, at Manchester City, and I think he's a better player than Phillips. I think we'll all agree on that. But he doesn't want to go to Man City and risk possibly not being a guaranteed starter.
Yeah, it's an interesting... I don't see the conflict situation for a start at West Ham, because West Ham have sort of almost sanctioned there's going to be a move for Declan. Declan's not that type of individual, so I think it will happen. I've got to say, Crooksy, if I had the opportunity between Arsenal and Manchester City, I would back myself and my own ability to make sure I'm in the team every week and go to Manchester City, because I think they're the team that are almost guaranteed trophies, if you like, or they certainly have been of recent years. And I'm not sure that Arsenal can guarantee you that. I think Declan will certainly help their cause, but if he went to Manchester City, that would and you think you're near enough there over the line and you're Arsenal, that would be a real blow for them.
Yeah.
Is this just general talk, Alex, that he's got his mind set in Arsenal? I would have thought Declan Rice would be open to, if Manchester City come in with a bid that Sullivan cannot say no to, Declan Rice would be happy enough, I'm sure, to join the English champions, the European champions, for goodness sake.
Yeah, and I think that's the key now is do Arsenal get near to the asking price? I think you were the first one to reveal it, that ideally they want £100 million rising to as much as £120 million. If Arsenal aren't willing to pay that, I'm not saying that Declan Rice turns down Manchester City, because, of course, nobody in their right mind would turn down Manchester City. But if you're asking me if both clubs come up with the same offer and the choice is Declan Rice's, I think he goes to Arsenal.
I mean, who makes the ultimate decision here, Simon? If you are the co-owner of West Ham, i.e. David Sullivan, and you're sitting in a yacht somewhere in the Med, as I'm led to believe that he is, are you just waiting to activate the go button when somebody comes in with something that he does want?
What Danny's point was, is if there is a difference between where he wants to go and who offers the best deal, Declan may find himself in a position where he feels the necessity to throw his weight around in the conversation, because the deal doesn't happen if the player doesn't want to go somewhere. So I can make it as difficult for him as I possibly want to, and ultimately some players will acquiesce to that and accept that that's the scenario. Other players might have a little bit more substance in their mind and say, well, I don't want to go to Man City. I know that sounds preposterous, but if
but who's get the final word, Sullivan or Rice?
Neither. It's
what do you mean neither? Well, Sullivan's not going to sell if he doesn't like the bid.
Well, then Declan Rice ain't going to go if he doesn't want to.
No. You're not getting me.
Well, I am. Who's got the final word?
Sullivan said weeks and weeks ago to me, 120 million plus add-ons.
Yeah.
Right. So it's whoever gets closest to that gets the player, presumably.
If the player doesn't want to go there?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Who's got the final say?
Well, you haven't got a final say. You've got a problem.
Yeah.
So you haven't got a final say. You've got a contractual obligation between one another, and ultimately, it may well be if the owner's in a slightly invidious position, because if Arsenal bid £100 million and Man City bid £120 million, then the West Ham are going to want him to go to Man City. If the player flatly insists he's not going to Man City, who do you think gets the final word then? So the owner's going to cut his nose off to spite his face.
What kind of position is Sullivan in at this moment?
He's in a position that only one football club made an offer. Everything else is rumour.
And the players, I think, has got a year to go on his contract after this, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is Sullivan's in a difficult position, because if the player says, well, I'll tell you what, okay, I know it's implausible, and Alex is right to suggest it's implausible. If the player doesn't want to go to Man City, for whatever reason he doesn't want to go there, you can't make him go.
Yep.
So the final word, as much as it might not be something I want to hear, will lie with the player. But by the same token, if the player desperately wants to go to Arsenal and David Sullivan doesn't want to let him go to Arsenal, then who does the final word lay with there then? It will end up being a meeting of the minds. It'll end up being, okay, well, maybe we have to find a way to make this happen, because Arsenal want to pay this on the drip, don't they? They want to pay it on over a period of time, and maybe there'll be a compromise, or maybe there won't be. But the bottom line is, in most of these situations, when you got to that quantum, the owner is not going to walk away from 100 million quid because he can't get 100. He's got 120 million pound over there. He's got 100 million pound over here, or he's got nothing.
Yeah.
I think the one thing up to this point in time, I think the club have done the right thing by offering Dec, the biggest contract that West Ham have ever given any player or offered any player. The player, in his right, has turned around and said, I'd prefer not to sign it, which is his option. And up to this moment in time, I think both parties have conducted themselves pretty well in this organisation.
There was a time when football players were called into this is a while ago, where football players were called into a manager's office and said, you're going over there. But that time has gone now.
Oh, that's gone. That's gone. Alex, on Mason Mount, are Manchester United anytime soon going to bid something that Chelsea might agree to?
Well, this is a similar scenario in many ways, because we know that Mason Mount has got his heart set on a move to Manchester United. Personal terms, as I understand it, have already pretty much been rubber stamped. United have made a bid worth up to £55 million. Chelsea are looking for closer to £62 million. United feel that their offer is fair. I don't see a situation at the moment where they're going to up the fee for a player who is out of contract next summer. So ultimately, Chelsea, with the need to balance the books in this particular window, are they going to allow Mason Mount to stay and run down his contract and leave for free next summer, or will they have to meet in the middle with Manchester United? I think they're going to have to meet in the middle, particularly as this interest from Bayern Munich. You can see the link with Thomas Tuchel. I'm not sure that's quite as concrete as maybe some people are leading us to believe.
Sure. You want to finish on Brighton? They're doing some business.
Yeah, well, Moises Caicedo, obviously lots of talk still about him. Chelsea at the moment way short of meeting Brighton's asking price, but they're doing business. They've broken their transfer record already to sign João Pedro. They've got James Milner in there. De Huda's come in from Borussia Dortmund. They're really trying to build a squad capable of competing both domestically and in the Europa League next season. Keep an eye on Mohamed Kudus. I'm told genuine interest from Brighton in the Ajax forward. He's a Ghanaian international. I know Erik Ten Hag at Manchester United thinks the world of him. This could be another potential club record transfer for Brighton.